Shalom and welcome to Universal Truth of Mankind. I am Dave, your host, and this is Buyer Beware. Now, we will be talking again on Leviticus 26:15, which we did a few weeks ago. Sorry I didn't have a video for the last week, but it was Memorial Day, and traditionally and from experience, it's not a good time to post any videos. People were busy enjoying themselves, having their barbecues, and so on and so forth, and that's a great idea, and I encourage people to do that. Now, we only dealt with part of this, but there was a piece of it we did not cover. And that's what we're going to do today, particularly the concept of covenant. Now, before we get rolling, please like and share all these videos. I'm not asking money from anybody. I'm not even asking people to join any lists and so on and so forth. So just just share it out there and get the word out. I really like to see people learn more about their scripture from what it really says versus from what the guy in the pulpit tells you or doesn't have time to tell you the deeper stuff. Okay, so join my Rumble and my YouTube accounts, Universal Truth of Mankind, on both. And all the videos are on both. So here is the verse again. Again, I have on the left side, you will see the English from JPS or from the GPS Tanakh, 1985 version. And you'll see the English as well as the Hebrew, the interlinear. So you can always look up these words for yourself as well and do your own studies. And on the right-hand side, you see the Hebrew. It actually starts because we go right to left, where you see the 15 right here, actually starts over here. And it goes this way, and the next line this way, and 16, beginning of the next verse. All right, so covenant is what we did not cover last time. Now, we did talk about the laws, we did talk about the rules, and we did talk about the commandments, but we never covered the subject of covenant. Now, this is a good sized subject by itself, and I'm only going to cover part of it, and I'm going to encourage you to do further studies on this. All right, so what is a covenant? Well, I can give you the simplest, most basic, boring definition possible. It's an agreement between two parties, period. Like a contract. Now, there's more to it though. It's not just that. There's more to it. This is in this particular case, this is a covenant that we're talking about between the Creator and mankind, not between two physical people. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, is this covenant only between the physical man and the creator? But there's more to it than that. So let's delve in a little bit more here. Now, like I said, it's an agreement between two parties. What that is telling us is that once one of the parties dies, the covenant ceases. This is what Christianity is based upon, that Israel's been replaced by something else because Israel, in a sense, died. They broke the covenant. By the way, even though you break a covenant, if you're still alive, the covenant still applies. So there's a little bit of lost thought there that needs to be considered into this picture. Now you're saying, well, physical man dies. So as an individual, does it does the covenant is the covenant broken upon the death of the individual, even though the creator is still living? No, it doesn't break because this covenant is at different levels. This is why we have the Zohar. The Zohar looks at the covenant, the Torah, as a eternal thing from a spiritual perspective. Now, when we get into the Torah, believe it or not, if you understand the Torah more from a metaphysical sense, I'll say, you'll realize that the covenant at that level never breaks. And then you will see that, yes, the body dies in terms of the individual. Israel still doesn't die because Israel is the group of people. It's not the individual. Now, it does not mean that the Torah does not apply to the individual. We know that. How do we know that? Because we just read about the laws, the rules, and the commandments. Those apply to the individual, but they also apply to the community. They also apply to the people in general. Now, when we say the people in general, it's not just a physical people, it's a spiritual people as well. And this is where people get lost. Whenever they talk about Israel, they always think of individuals. They always think of the physical Israel. The physical Israel is only 1% of reality, where the spiritual Israel is 99% of reality. So even though we die individually, the corporate Israel still continues at the physical level. In particular, so let me touch on this one more time to give you a better hold of what the covenant is. Okay, so what is the covenant? The covenant is the Torah. It's the five books of Moses. It's the Pentateuch. That's what we're talking about. That is the covenant. Now, within that covenant, what does it tell us? It says that as long as you keep my covenant, you will have blessings. And these are the blessings. Uh, As long as you have this covenant, if you don't agree to me and you walk away, then these curses are going to hit you. I'm going to put these curses upon you. So Moses said in Deuteronomy, you will, for a spokesman for the Creator, you will leave me. That doesn't mean everybody. It just means that there are going to be people who are going to leave the Creator. But you will return. Now, is he talking to the generation that he's has in front of him? Yes. Is he talking to future generations? Yes. Well, what does this mean? This means there's a concept of reincarnation. In other words, your soul is recycled, and he's going to keep blessing you. He's going to keep cursing you until finally you say, I've had enough of the curses. I only want the blessings. I'm with the Creator. So we're not talking about a physical person necessarily. We are talking about the Israel, the spiritual Israel. Now, people just can't walk into this and say, well, the Torah, um, I want to be part of Israel. And now I want to become part of spiritual Israel, that somehow through a belief in something will make you part of Israel. That's not the case. If you want to be part of Israel, you have to connect to the covenant. What's the covenant? The Torah itself. Now, the Torah, the covenant, the Torah is holy. What does holy mean? Holy means complete. It's a complete covenant. It nothing lacking and nothing to be added. So when somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, believe in this because the law's been done away with," which is doing away with the covenant, a holy covenant, you're lying to me. I won't believe you because this covenant is a forever thing. Where did this covenant start? It started the day that the thought of creation was thought of, that the day that creation was thought of. Right from the first word of Genesis 1:1, along with all the 6 days of creation and seventh day rest. So let's understand a little bit more what's going on here. Now, within, I think it's Jeremiah 33:25, it says that the covenant is between day and night. Now you may be saying, what's a day? What's a night? Now, day and night means male and female. The day is the male, the night is the female. Now, when I say day and night, I'm not saying good and evil. Think of it this way. Who is Adam? Man. We see this in Genesis 1 and 2. Now, who is, I should say, in Genesis, really, we're talking about Genesis 2 specifically. Now, what's the ground? Adamah. Now, Adam is the male, Adamah is the female. Adamah is meant to give. That's what the term male means, is to give. It does not mean to, we're not talking about necessary hierarchy. We're speaking of cooperation. So you have Adam, the male, and then you have Adamah, which is the ground. Now, in order for the ground to produce, it requires what? A male and female to have conception. So man at a higher level, closer to the creation level, a real high level spirituality has to merge with Adamah to create. Now, where do we see this creation? Well, where else do we see day and night, night and day? Where do we see this? The 6 days of creation. There is a joining of the male and female aspect of creation coming together to what? Produce. Now, did you know that often when we deal with a covenant, the study of covenant, we find water involved. We find salt water involved. Now, why is that? Well, did you ever hear the libation offering? That's water and salt. Because water, salt gives life to us. It produces life, it produces us. Now, let me flip this into what we've already talked about. You will leave me, you will return to me. It's a guarantee. It's not a subjection. You don't need an intermediary to have a relationship with the Creator because it's already assured. That's what the covenant does. It assures that connection. It assures that salvation that we're talking about. Now, you may say, well, look at the world right now. We're not saved. Well, that's right now. In the future, everything will be better and cleared up and will become permanent. We're just not there yet. All right. So that's the idea of the day and the night, the male and female having kids. So what are we talking about? Life. The covenant in this case gives us life. What kind of life? Reincarnation life. In other words, the soul will come down and go through its struggles so that next time it is better. And it's going to go through several iterations until it is complete. So let's go through a little bit more of this. Now, within my studies, the Torah is something we need to study daily because each time we study daily, each time we study, it's like creating a world. So if it's like we're keeping up with the covenant. We're staying with the covenant. And that's our goal, is to become permanently attached and following the covenant. It's not impossible. It is impossible. I mean, you got to understand, when the Creator created us, He knew we were going to make mistakes. So this is why we have a Torah that teaches us we will leave, yet we'll come back. So we need to study Torah, but we need to study Torah just not as like scanning through the words, but we also need to understand what these words are telling us in the original, or in this case, the concept of the covenant. What is it? So we bring life back, like a male and female. We bring life in. Procreation is how procreating our children are our inheritance. And because if it's our inheritance, we know that the children are our future. Because each time we give birth, It's a new generation, new iterations of the souls that are coming down here to learn to become more and more faithful and to learn, and this includes within the nations, to learn to say, I want to be part of Israel and move on. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, I see the word covenant mentioned many times. There are scads of covenants within the Torah, but you got to understand, each of these covenants that we're talking about are part of the whole, like this. We know that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob have covenants. We know Israel has a covenant. We know the individual has a covenant. Only the individual dies. Why? So it could be recycled and learn to become better. In other words, reincarnation. It's not a one-time chance. It's multiple iteration. Let's say you have children and one of them is very wayward to the day he dies. Don't fear. He will be back, except next time he'll have a chance again to improve himself, to connect himself to Israel. In this case, when I say Israel, I'm talking about spiritual Israel. You have to think in terms of layers. Now, we do know there's a Brit Milah, which is circumcision. That's at an individual level. We have to have a circumcised heart. Yes, you should have a circumcised, you should be circumcised if you are not. But it's a circumcision because of your spiritual condition, not a circumcision because it's tradition. Because you have to be circumcised from here all the way down. And the physical circumcision is the last thing to be done. So just because a person is not circumcised does not mean they're not part of Israel. Remember, everything's flowing from the top to the bottom. Unfortunately, many of us think from the bottom to the top. And we see in this verse that it's what? We have to what? Not break the covenant. Then we follow the commandments. Now, you may be saying, well, covenant, well, think of it this way. Think of the Torah as two pieces. It has the commandments and it has the narrative. Those narratives are to be understood at a spiritual level. Commandments are to, like at a mental level, apply those commandments. They don't have a lot of detail in them. There's the details you have to figure out, which creates the rulings, which creates the customs or the laws. You see how that works? And unfortunately, we have it, as I like to say, backwards, bass backwards. Now, like I said, there's many covenants within. Like I said, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob have covenants with the Creator. Israel's a covenant with the Creator. There are in reality many, many, many more covenants there. Now, I had a pastor friend who gave me a book about dispensationalism. It was by Charles Roy Reed. He gave it to me. I read it. And I returned it to him. And I told him, I said, this is a bunch of malarkey. I said, it's illogical. Dispensationalism attempts to take the covenants and say that, well, it's an evolution from one evolution of steps towards perfection. But there's so many covenants in the Torah, he only covers a couple of them. He doesn't cover them all. The covenant of peace. I don't see anyone mentioning that within dispensationalism. Now, why do I pick this up? I'm not trying to put people down. I'm simply showing an error, at least from my studies, an error. If you don't agree, please do your own studies. I'm not here trying to convince you. I'm simply sharing with you. The covenant is eternal. If you take the first, middle, and last character of Bereshit, which means in the beginning, or it can also mean he created six. That's the very first word of Genesis 1:1 spells out Brit or Brit. It spells out covenant. So the covenant started there. Then the covenant was made with, that's a thought of creation. Then it was made with the design of creation. And then it was created through the facilitator of creation. I talk about this in other videos. And then creation followed that pattern. We have Adam Kadmon, the highest Adam. A covenant was made with him. Then there's Adam Rishon, the first Adam. A covenant was made with him. And then we had the physical Adam. The covenant was made with him too. But we, in the physical Adam, die. Why? Because he knows we're not going to be perfected immediately. It takes time. So the physical body has to die. The soul is released. That's why we bury the body, but the soul is released, and then the soul gets reformed. It goes to a place called Gehenna. And Gehenna is where a person is judged according to his faults or her faults. And then the parts that need to be changed are passed on. The parts that have been changed that are good also get carried on. So it's not necessarily just you, in my case, David, being, here's David again. Whoop, there goes David again. Whoop, there goes David. No, 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 no. We're a composite soul of many, many pieces. We are parts of our ancestors, all of our ancestors. And the Creator will sometimes put an extra dose of this or a lesser dose of that to help swing the balance back to the Creator. Now, here I want to show you the verse. This is Psalm 50:15. And it says, and to the wicked, those are the people who choose not to follow, not to be of God. These are people who make the decision to walk away. God said, who are you to recite my laws and mouth the terms of my covenant? That's what we see a lot of today. We see a lot of people who have these doctrines, these dogmas, these agendas, a thought process, and they feel they can dictate the terms of the Torah, which is the covenant, and somehow feel it can be done away with. It cannot be. It is not done away with. It's permanent. To do away with it, you're wicked. There's no other way to look at this. It's essential that we follow the Torah and to learn it. Well, thank you for joining me. And please do your study. Look more into this word covenant. I'm by no means exhausted. And trust me, I spent days looking at this. And I still have not exhausted all my resources. But what we learned here should give us a respect, a renewed desire to look at the covenant and somehow fit ourselves into it so we can become part of Israel. Do your own studies. Don't go to people. Do your own studies. You want to get as pure as possible, as close as possible to the truth. Take care, everybody. Shalom, shalom.